The way you begin your day is not a small detail, it is the architecture of your destiny. Most people wake up and immediately fall into the trap of reaction. They reach for their phones, they scroll through the endless noise of the world, and before the first hour has even passed, their mind is already cluttered, their emotions hijacked, their energy scattered. They wonder why the day feels heavy, why success always seems a step away, but the truth is this: they gave away their power in the first 60 minutes of their morning. The first hour of your day is sacred. It is the foundation upon which the rest of your hours are built. If you waste it, you spend the rest of the day trying to catch up. If you invest it, you spend the rest of the day moving forward with clarity, strength, and momentum. Think of a rocket ship. It uses the majority of its fuel in the first few moments of liftoff. Once it breaks the pull of gravity, it soars with ease. Your morning works the same way. The energy, focus, and discipline you put into the first hour carry you upward, and everything that follows becomes easier. Psychologists often speak of something called decision fatigue. The human brain has a limited supply of willpower and decision-making energy each day. If your first hour is filled with chaos, disorganization, and distraction, you drain your mental energy before you've even begun the real work of the day. But when the first hour is used with intention, through planning, exercise, reading, reflection, or meditation, you preserve your strength and expand your clarity. You set an internal compass that points you in the direction of growth. Philosophers, leaders, creators, and builders across history have understood this secret. The first hour is not a time to indulge in laziness, but a time to prepare for greatness. It is the hour where you align your mind with your vision, where you remind yourself of what matters most, where you choose your day rather than allowing the day to choose you. The truth is simple: if you master the first hour, you master the day. If you master the day, you master the weeks, the months, the years, and eventually you master your life. But here's what's important to understand. The first hour is not just about actions. It's about energy. It's not only about what you do, but about the state of mind you create. Imagine beginning your day with intentional silence before the world demands your attention. Imagine taking a pen and writing down your most important goals, even just 3 of them, and then seeing those goals in your mind as if they were already achieved. That simple act transforms the first hour from ordinary to extraordinary. It awakens in you a sense of control, of purpose, of conviction. And once you carry that energy into the next hours, you are unstoppable. There is also a spiritual law at play here. The first hour is when your subconscious mind is most open, most impressionable. Whatever you feed it in that time sets the emotional tone of the day. If you feed it distractions, you invite confusion. If you feed it doubt, you invite hesitation. But if you feed it vision, clarity, and faith, you invite power. You become aligned not just with your outer goals, but with your inner strength. The early morning is when you plant the seeds of thought that will bear fruit throughout the day. This is why those who treat the first hour as sacred often appear to have more energy, more focus, and more productivity than others. It is not that they were given more hours in a day. It is that they learned to multiply the value of their hours by mastering the beginning of them. It is not that they avoid struggle. It is that they begin with the strength to endure it. If you are serious about success, you must protect your mornings. Guard that first hour like a treasure, because it is one. Train yourself to rise with discipline, to act with intention, and to think with clarity. And when you feel the pull of laziness, remind yourself that every morning is either a step toward your destiny or a retreat into mediocrity. Remember this: success is not waiting for you at the end of the day. It is waiting for you at the beginning. It is not hiding in the big victories. It is hiding in the small choices you make the moment your feet hit the floor. The first hour is not just about time, it is about identity. It is your chance to declare who you are and who you are becoming. So when tomorrow morning comes, don't give that first hour to chance. Don't surrender it to distractions, to fatigue, or to fear. Seize it. Shape it. Own it. Because if you win the first hour, you win the day. And if you win enough days, you will win the life you were meant to live. There is a kind of silence that is more powerful than any noise. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of potential. You can feel it in the early hours of the morning, before the world stirs, before phones begin to ring, before obligations come knocking. It is the silence of opportunity. In those moments, life itself seems to pause. offering you a chance to step ahead of the chaos, a chance to breathe before the demands of the day weigh heavy on your shoulders. Most people never experience this silence because they sleep through it. They wake only when the world is already moving, when traffic is already humming, when deadlines are already pressing. And so they miss the purest hour of clarity life gives them every single day. They don't realize that by sleeping through the silence, they're sleeping through their advantage. The early morning belongs to those who claim it. When you rise before the world wakes, you give yourself something priceless: space to think. The average person lives in constant reaction. They respond to emails, messages, news, problems, all before they've even had the chance to decide who they are that day. But when you claim the silence of the morning, you remove yourself from the noise of the crowd. You are no longer at the mercy of other people's agendas. You are no longer distracted by 1,000 voices. You have only your own voice to listen to. And that voice is the one that matters most. In the silence of the morning, you can hear the subtle whispers of your own ambition, the quiet guidance of your own intuition, the reminders of your own vision. The mind is clearer, the spirit is lighter, and the distractions that normally drown out your inner wisdom are absent. This is when you make decisions not from pressure but from purpose. This is when you align yourself with the kind of person you intend to be. There is a profound psychological benefit to this practice. Studies show that solitude enhances creativity, strengthens focus, and allows the brain to connect ideas in ways it cannot when bombarded with noise and demands. The silence before the world wakes is not simply peaceful, it is productive. It is the fertile soil where your best thoughts, your most valuable strategies, and your most authentic inspirations are born. Every great plan, every great invention, every breakthrough begins with a moment of silence where the mind is free to imagine and the heart is free to believe. Think of the contrast. A man who wakes late, rushing through breakfast, glancing at his phone, overwhelmed before he's even out the door, will carry that rushed, fragmented energy all day long. His thoughts will be scattered, his emotions fragile, his focus constantly divided. Meanwhile, the one who wakes before the world is quiet has already conquered himself. He has already centered his mind, set his intentions, and gained clarity. He steps into the day with calm, with control, and with confidence. Which of these men has the greater chance of success? The answer is obvious. But silence does more than prepare your mind, it strengthens your spirit. In the stillness of early morning, you have the rare chance to connect with something higher than yourself. Call it faith, call it vision, call it purpose. It is the recognition that you are part of something larger and that your actions matter. In the silence, you remember what truly matters and what does not. You begin your day not in reaction to the trivial, but in alignment with the meaningful. And when your spirit begins the day strong, no trivial distraction can easily shake it. This is why silence before the world wakes is a secret weapon of those who achieve great things. They are not necessarily smarter, luckier, or more talented than anyone else, but they are willing to rise while others sleep, to think while others rush, to prepare while others drift. They are willing to use silence not as an escape, but as a weapon. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is this: when you own the early silence, you own yourself. You prove that you are not driven by the pace of the world, but by the rhythm of your own vision. You are no longer a prisoner of noise. You are the master of it. You can enter the noise of the day with clarity because you have already built your foundation in stillness. So the choice is yours. You can continue to sleep through the silence, waking only when the world pulls you into its storm. Or you can rise a little earlier, step into the quiet, and use it to build your strength, sharpen your focus, and set the direction of your destiny. Remember this: in the silence before the world wakes, greatness is whispering. The question is whether you will be awake to hear it. There are people who believe that waking early is simply a matter of setting the alarm. They imagine that if they can force themselves out of bed at 5 in the morning, success will automatically follow. But let me tell you something that may surprise you: the alarm clock does not create success. The time on the clock does not create greatness. What creates success is the mindset with which you rise. Without the right mindset, waking up early is nothing more than exhaustion in disguise. The act of rising early must be born of conviction, not compulsion. If you wake resentful, dragging yourself into the day as if it were a punishment, you will carry that bitterness into everything you do. But if you rise with purpose, If you rise with the inner belief that the morning belongs to you, then your early hour becomes a weapon rather than a burden. The difference is not in the alarm, it is in the attitude. Think about this: two people wake up at the same hour. One wakes reluctantly, angry at the sound of the alarm, already feeling robbed of rest. The other wakes with anticipation, grateful for the extra time, excited for the chance to move one step closer to their dream. The hour on the clock is identical, but the energy each carries is entirely different. One begins the day defeated, the other begins victorious. Which of these two do you think will dominate the hours that follow? This is why I say mindset over alarm clock. Because success is never simply about what time you rise, but about who you are when you rise. If you train your mind to see the morning not as an obligation but as an opportunity, then you have already won before the world has even started moving. Here lies a deeper truth. Human beings live by the stories they tell themselves. If the story in your mind is that mornings are painful, you will resist them. You will sabotage yourself because your mind has already decided that the early hour is punishment. But if the story you choose is that mornings are your secret weapon, your head start, your advantage, then every time the alarm rings, it will not feel like an enemy. It will feel like an invitation. The story you choose is the difference between failure and follow-through. It is easy to underestimate how much our inner dialogue shapes our outer results. The man who believes he is being forced to wake up will always find excuses to go back to bed. But the man who believes he is waking by choice, to claim the future he desires, cannot be stopped by fatigue or temptation. His willpower is not borrowed from the alarm clock. It is fueled by vision, and vision is the critical ingredient here. Without vision, the early hour is meaningless. Why would anyone sacrifice sleep for no reason? But when your mind is fixed on a goal so compelling that it burns in your imagination, waking early ceases to be a sacrifice. It becomes a privilege. Your mindset transforms the early hours from drudgery into destiny. You no longer think of what you are losing in sleep. You think of what you are gaining in progress. This is the philosophy of all achievement. The mind leads, and the body follows. Too many people try to change their habits while leaving their beliefs untouched. They force themselves into routines without ever questioning the mindset behind them. That is why they fail. Discipline without belief collapses under its own weight, but discipline fueled by belief becomes unstoppable. So I say to you, do not merely train yourself to wake early. Train yourself to think early. Train yourself to see the morning as the proof of your strength, the evidence of your commitment, the sign that you are willing to do what others will not. Let each early rising be a declaration that you are in control of your life, not your circumstances. The alarm clock is nothing more than a tool. The real power lies in your decision to rise with purpose. Remember this: it is not the clock that changes your life. It is the conviction with which you greet the clock. It is not the hour that matters. It is the intention. The mindset you bring into the morning determines whether those hours are wasted or multiplied. If you rise reluctantly, you live reluctantly. If you rise intentionally, you live intentionally. So when tomorrow comes and your alarm sounds, don't ask yourself, "Do I feel like getting up?" Ask yourself instead, "Who am I becoming by getting up?" Because the moment you rise with that mindset, the day's already yours. And when you make enough mornings yours, the world itself cannot help but belong to you. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that success is born in grand events. They wait for the breakthrough, the lucky moment, the life-changing opportunity. But in reality, success is not something that happens to you. It is something you build, brick by brick, hour by hour, choice by choice. And the cornerstone of that construction is planning. A day without a plan is like a ship without a compass. It drifts, it reacts, and it almost always ends up far from its destination. But a day with a plan is a day already half won before it begins. Consider how most people approach their mornings. They rise, they eat, they rush out the door, and then they spend the rest of the day reacting to emails, to phone calls, to other people's priorities. They confuse activity with progress, but in truth, much of what they do leads nowhere. Business and productivity are not the same thing. The difference between the two is intention, and intention is born in planning. The first quiet moments of your morning are not just a gift of silence, they are the perfect time to design your day with precision. In those moments, your mind is clear, Your emotions are steady, and your energy is unclaimed. You can take a pen and write down the tasks that truly matter, the steps that bring you closer to your goals, the priorities that reflect your vision. This is not about filling a to-do list with meaningless chores. It is about identifying what is essential. Ask yourself, if I could accomplish only 3 things today, which 3 would make the greatest impact on my future? When you answer that question each morning, you separate the trivial from the transformative. There is also a psychological force at work here. When you plan your day, you take ownership of it. You declare that your time is not up for negotiation, that your hours belong to you, not to chance, not to other people's agendas. You shift from living passively to living deliberately, and this shift builds confidence. You begin to see yourself as a leader of your own life rather than a follower of circumstances. That sense of control fuels not just productivity, but self-respect. Now, let me be clear, planning alone does not create results. A plan without action is nothing but a dream written on paper. But planning aligns your actions so that when you do move, you move with focus. It transforms scattered effort into concentrated power. Think of sunlight. It warms everything it touches, but when concentrated through a magnifying glass, it becomes fire. Planning is that magnifying glass. It takes the scattered energy of your day and focuses it on what truly matters, producing results far greater than random activity ever could. Some people argue that planning is restrictive, that it takes away spontaneity. But the opposite is true. Planning does not chain you, it frees you. Because when your essentials are already defined, when your direction is already clear, you can face the unexpected with calm. You can adapt without losing yourself. Planning gives you structure, and structure gives you strength. Without it, life controls you. With it, you control life. Philosophically, planning is also an act of faith. It is the belief that your future can be shaped, that your time can be directed, that your life is not random but purposeful. When you take a few minutes each morning to decide where you're going, you are declaring to yourself and to the world, I am not drifting. I am not waiting. I am creating. That declaration carries power because it shifts your mindset from victimhood to victory. Think of the greatest builders, the most successful leaders, the creators of lasting legacies. None of them stumbled into achievement by accident. They mapped it. They wrote it. They visualized it before it existed. Your daily plan is not a small detail. It is your personal blueprint for success. And each day that you plan with intention, you are laying another brick in the structure of your destiny. So, I challenge you tomorrow morning, before you give your energy to the world, give it first to yourself. Take 10 minutes, take 5 if that's all you can spare, but take them with seriousness. Write down the 3 victories you will claim that day. Carry them with you like a compass, and do not let distractions pull you off course. You may not accomplish everything, but you will accomplish the things that matter most. And when you repeat this practice day after day, you will look back months or years later and realize that those small morning victories became the foundation of your greatest achievements. Remember this, success is not built in the chaos of the day, but in the clarity of the morning. Daily planning is daily victory, and every time you choose to plan, you take another step away from chance and another step closer to destiny. Discipline is the invisible hand that shapes every destiny. It is not glamorous, it is not loud, and it rarely receives applause, yet it is the foundation upon which all success is built. Without discipline, talent is wasted, potential is lost, and dreams remain nothing more than fantasies. But with discipline, even ordinary abilities can produce extraordinary results. When you rise early, when you plan your day, when you commit yourself to use the first hour with intention, what you are really practicing is discipline. And discipline is more than just a habit. It is proof of mastery over self. The individual who cannot command himself cannot command his future. The person who cannot control their actions will always be controlled by circumstances. This is why I say that discipline is not optional, it is destiny. Look closely at the most successful individuals in any field, whether business, art, science, or leadership, and you will find not just creativity or intelligence, but discipline. They do what must be done even when they do not feel like doing it. They push forward in the absence of motivation. They understand that emotions are fleeting, but discipline endures. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the spark fades. There is a psychological truth hidden here. Every time you practice discipline, you strengthen your identity. When you wake early instead of sleeping in, when you follow through on your plan instead of procrastinating, when you stay focused instead of giving into distraction, you are not just accomplishing tasks, you are reinforcing the belief that you are in control. Discipline creates confidence because it builds evidence. Every disciplined act is proof to yourself that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you can trust your own word. Without that inner trust, success is impossible, because the foundation of all achievement is self-belief. Many people make the mistake of thinking discipline is punishment. They think of it as something harsh, something restrictive. But in reality, discipline is freedom. The man who lacks discipline is a slave to his moods, his cravings, his impulses. He cannot choose because his impulses choose for him. But the disciplined man is free. He can act on principle instead of emotion. He can choose the long-term reward instead of the short-term temptation. Discipline does not imprison you. It liberates you from the prison of weakness. Philosophically, discipline is the alignment of your actions with your vision. It is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Without discipline, dreams remain fantasies because there is no consistent action to transform them into reality. With discipline, even small steps taken daily create monumental change over time. This is the compounding effect of discipline. Little victories, repeated with consistency, become great victories. Think about how this connects to your morning. Rising early may not seem like a monumental act, but it is a declaration of discipline. It says, I command myself. And that one act of discipline sets the tone for all the others. When you conquer the morning, you prove to yourself that you can conquer the rest of the day. And when you conquer enough days, you conquer life itself. Yet discipline requires a choice, and that choice is often uncomfortable. It is easier to stay in bed, easier to drift without a plan, easier to indulge in distraction. Discipline is rarely the easier path, but it is always the higher one. And here is the truth. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you trade away a piece of your destiny. You delay the life you could have had. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you purchase a piece of your future. You make an investment in the person you are becoming. Discipline is not about perfection. You will stumble, you will fail, you will have days where you fall short. But discipline is not destroyed by failure. It is strengthened by persistence. Each time you return to discipline after falling, you build resilience. The disciplined individual is not the one who never fails, but the one who never stops returning. And in that returning lies greatness. So I tell you this, do not think of discipline as a burden, think of it as a privilege. It is the tool that turns vision into reality, weakness into strength, time into achievement. The man or woman who chooses discipline daily is choosing destiny daily. And destiny is not something that falls into your lap. It is something you build with each disciplined act, each focused morning, each intentional choice. Remember this, the undisciplined life may feel easier in the moment, but it always ends in regret. The disciplined life may feel harder in the moment, but it always ends in reward. The choice is yours. And every morning, when you rise, you are not just waking from sleep. You are choosing whether to live by discipline or by default. Choose discipline. Because discipline is destiny. Greatness is not born in single moments of brilliance. It is not the result of one act of discipline, one burst of motivation, or one victorious day. Greatness is the result of what you do consistently, not occasionally. It is the compounding effect of small, repeated victories that builds a legacy. And this truth is perhaps the most overlooked principle of success, because most people are searching for speed when they should be searching for consistency. Think of it this way, a drop of water seems powerless, but when drops fall again and again, they can carve valleys into stone. One drop is nothing, but thousands of drops, applied consistently, can transform landscapes. In the same way, your early mornings, your disciplined choices, your planned days may not look life-changing at first. You may even wonder if they are working. But over time, the compounding effect reveals itself. What feels small in the moment grows immense when multiplied by days, months, and years. The human mind, however, is impatient. It craves instant gratification, immediate results. That is why so many people quit before success ever arrives. They rise early for a week, they plan for a month, they practice discipline for a season, and when they do not see dramatic change, they stop. What they fail to understand is that consistency is the true multiplier of effort. It is not what you do once that changes your life. It is what you do again and again, long after the excitement has faded. Philosophically, consistency is a demonstration of faith. It is the act of believing in the harvest before the seed has even broken the soil. Every early morning, every act of discipline, every plan you commit to is a seed planted in the garden of your future. You may not see growth immediately, but growth is happening beneath the surface. And one day, when enough seeds have been planted and watered, the harvest comes suddenly, abundantly, and undeniably. This principle explains why those who seem to rise overnight rarely did so overnight at all. What looks like sudden success is almost always the public unveiling of years of private consistency. The world only sees the outcome, not the countless mornings of quiet discipline that produced it. But if you could look behind the curtain of every success story, you would see the same thing: ordinary actions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. Consistency also shapes identity. Each time you follow through on your commitments, you reinforce the belief that you are dependable, disciplined, capable. Each time you break your commitments, you reinforce the opposite belief that you cannot be trusted with your own word. Over time, your identity hardens in one direction or the other. This is the compounding effect at the level of character. Your repeated actions shape not just your results, but your very sense of self. And here lies the greatest danger in consistency. Missing a single day does not destroy success, but abandoning the pattern does. The man who wakes early once is not transformed. The man who wakes early daily for years is. The woman who plans one day is not changed. The woman who plans daily is. Success is not built in one heroic effort, but in the ordinary act repeated faithfully. That is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. Intensity burns hot and dies quickly. Consistency burns steady and lasts a lifetime. So what does this mean for you? It means that you must stop looking for dramatic leaps and start valuing steady steps. It means that you must stop chasing intensity and start cultivating consistency. It means that you must understand that greatness is not hidden in what you do occasionally, but in what you do daily. And let me tell you, this consistency is not always exciting. It is often repetitive, sometimes tedious. But this is the very reason it works. Most people will not endure the repetition long enough to see the reward. They want the glory without the grind, the reward without the routine. But those who endure, those who remain consistent when others quit, are the ones who rise above. Because while talent may open a door, only consistency keeps it open. When you understand this principle deeply, you begin to see every morning not as an isolated event, but as part of a chain, each link connected to the next. Each disciplined act strengthens the chain. Each consistent choice builds momentum. And momentum, once built, becomes unstoppable. This is the power of the compounding effect. What begins as effort becomes habit. What begins as habit becomes character. And what begins as character becomes destiny. So I leave you with this thought: it is not enough to rise early once. It is not enough to plan for a season. It is not enough to practice discipline when it is convenient. True success demands consistency. The life you desire will not be built in a day, but it will be built daily. Remember, this consistency compounds, and what you do today is not just about today. It is about tomorrow, and the day after, and the years to come. Be faithful in the small victories, for they are the foundation of great triumphs. Greatness is not in what you start. It is in what you sustain. And if you sustain long enough, there is nothing in this world that can deny you the destiny you have chosen.